Hello, everybody. We are man. I don't know about you, Adam, but I'm pumped. This is our very first episode of the
Is it
True
gonna be
Shot
good?
guest spot.
Is it gonna be good?
Well, so we just got done talking to Frankie Palmeri of EMMURE, and I gotta say
Cool
that was a
dude.
lot of fun. Yeah,
Very
really
cool
cool
dude.
dude.
Down to
Talked
earth.
about Yeah, I mean, we ran the gamut, on and what you can think of. We talked about it with Frankie. From his personal kind of relationships a little bit, stuff involving the labels, stuff involving coronavirus,
Past
you know, uh,
members.
past members. We got into a bunch of stuff, and we really hope that you guys enjoy this a lot. I mean, going forward, what we'll do is when we line up a guest, we'll have you guys kind of ask us, send in questions for us to ask the guests. So that'll be another cool way to get you guys involved as well. But we kind of wanted to try to keep this under wraps a little bit and kind of hit you with a nice surprise. So without further ado, here's the interview that Adam and I conducted with Frankie Palmeri of EMMURE. Frankie, what's up, my man?
Good evening to both of you.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Still here, still rocking.
Yeah. So, listen, man, I know that you've been asked this on a couple podcasts already, but how's everything going with you and COVID and everything? I know that you're in Oregon now, so how's everything going over on your neck of the woods?
It's pretty normal, other than
Yeah.
the fact that nothing is normal. Like I'm still eating food. I have a roof over my head. Like that part of my life is still just fine. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of dealing with the same shit everyone else is dealing with. Just there's nowhere to go. Everything's pretty much shut down, other than
Yeah.
necessities. So
Are you one of the guys? So, like me, I'm kind of one of those guys. I say that I joke. I say, I've kind of been preparing for this my whole life. I'm used to kind of being inside and all that. Are you like that? Are you cool being inside? Or I know you want to be on the road, obviously. But
yeah. I mean, I've always considered myself kind of a hermit, but I think the truth of the matter is I've always been more of a loner. Like I like to go out of the house and like be in the city and go to the gym or go to the go to the bookstore or just have like regular just average pleb shit that I like to do that that like now I can't do any of that stuff. So I almost feel like I took it all for granted for so long, but I guess no one could ever expect something like this to ever happen in your lifetime. So
yeah, because
it's strange.
you just recently kind of got to Oregon, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been coming here for a long time, and I kept like having a fantasy about living in the Pacific Northwest, and then finally, like summer of 2019, I decided to make the jump over here. So, I mean, I really do like it here. I mean, my life's not too different, honestly, other than the fact that, like you mentioned, like I can't be on the road. I would still just be like, at home or like cooking or whatever. I'm not saying just dumb shit, like nothing special happening in my life, but it is what it is. I'm just doing the same thing everyone else is doing, just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah, so like I guess a good question that I'd ask is obviously with something like this, whether it's kind of like COVID or whether I know that a few years ago you had a vocal injury as well. Like, so what is somebody a musician what do they do like when you're off the road for an extended period of time? Like, do you have to go get a day job or like are you like good? Like how does that work exactly?
My finances for now are pretty comfortable. I don't have to do any like side gigs at the moment. I don't know how long this will last, so I'm kind of playing it by ear. If I had to get some kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like remedial job. I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm saying, like something that doesn't take a lot of brain power, then yeah, I don't mind doing that. But right now I'm all right, so I'm thankful at least for that. I'm like a pretty frugal person. I don't really own or like buy shit, and like only thing I ever spent money on was like food to feed myself and rent and bills anyway. So I'm not really stressed out about that part of my life, and thankfully I'm like I don't have any dependents. I don't have any kids to feed or anything like that. So I'm not tripping. You know what I mean? I got myself to worry about, and so I'm okay for now.
Yeah, so that actually kind of segues perfectly into another thing that I wanted to ask you about. So coming from Adam and I, we both have kids, we have girlfriends and stuff like that. And what I like to kind of like, I say, like, you're in Oregon now. I know that you're in California, and I'm like, I kind of live a little vicariously. I'm like, man, that must be so cool to just be able to get up and kind of go wherever you want to go when you want to go. So how is that, man? Like, kind of, fill us in. These us guys who are, the freedom. What's that like to just be able to have that freedom to go whenever you want to go?
It's a nice luxury, I suppose. But there's this great quote by this author, philosopher, whatever you call him, named Franz Kafka, and he has this quote that really like struck a nerve in me a while ago, and it says, "You are free, and that is why you are lost." And so I think everyone is really kind of searching for like that stability or that kind of like consistency in their life, whether it be like work or a job or or a girl, or like even sometimes it's religion, like whatever it is, you want to be tethered to something. Not being tethered to anything does have the advantages of like, I get to kind of like just make whatever decision I want, but you find different things to tie yourself to. So for me, I'm tethered to like my career and like, I guess my own sense of joy. So I mean, I want to say that like, I don't want to say that people that don't have my lifestyle are missing out. It's not like that. It's just that I just made the choices I made. Very they were very premeditated. I didn't want to have A, B, and C in my life, so I could do D, E, and F. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, I No, I appreciate that a lot. And again, the other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on a lot was, so basically from the outside looking in, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I know that you're no stranger to, kind of getting, some kind of hate on the internet. Controversy. Yeah, there you go. Whether it's from like just regular people or whether it's, different media outlets and stuff like that. And I like to believe, I look at it like, because obviously we know the one big thing with EMMURE is that, a few years ago, the members left. And, I don't want to dive too much into that or whatever, but like basically what I'm getting at is I see you as kind of like a guy where you have your vision. And I think that, again, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I see as you're as a guy that has your vision, and that if people, aren't really fitting into that mold, so to speak, I mean, you just fight for what you want. Is that safe to say, or?
Yeah, that's a healthy thing to say. I mean, everyone that's ever been a part of the band has been a part of like what's created the sound overall, and I'm grateful for everyone that has put their life and time into it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of it, I'm like the last filter. I'm like the last thing that it has to go through, because I generally believe that if I'm pleasing myself, then I'm pleasing my audience. That's just what I've built up in my head. Like if I'm really feeling it, that's a good sign, because I'm the kind of person that wants to be a fan of what I'm doing. I mean, I think everyone's like that, But that's kind of how I operate creatively. If I'm really, really excited about it, there's a good chance it's gonna have the same effect across the board with the audience. So.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I obviously not trying to talk any ill will on anybody or anything like that. But like, I guess the thing is, like, we know where EMMURE is right now in terms of musically, and I guess just band dynamic. Would you say that it's kind of like this is like? Do you feel like, oh, this is kind of what I've wanted it to be to this point, or is it still evolving, or you know what I mean? Like, is this kind of the iteration that you're like, yeah, this is kind of what I've been hoping that we'd get to?
I mean, it's still evolving. We're a band that is now pretty much about to be 8 records deep, which is a long, for any band. Most bands, even really great bands, make it 3-4 records.
Yeah, that's what I would say, 3-4.
So, the inspiration and the drive is still there to just keep making new shit that gets me excited. Like, I want to be like constantly making things in my life that I'm like, yo, this is awesome, this is dope. And that's everyone has their thing that wakes them up in the morning, and for me, that's the thing. Like, I want to do something cool. Like, I want to be a part of something that is bigger than me and people enjoy. So there's no reason for me to say that it's like I think that this is like the end or repeat or anything like that. It's more just like a journey for me. Like, I like making shit that I think is sick, and I have all these crazy ideas in my head of what the next record could sound like or what it should sound like or whatever, and I kind of play it by ear, really. We'll see what happens, see what comes out, but yeah, I don't know. I always think when I'm explaining stuff, I spin the wheel like 3 times before. I should have just stopped it already, but yeah.
No, it's all good, man.
Do you guys use you know, I mean, are you guys close right now? I mean, I know you guys, are doing some different stuff. You all have different projects, side projects, but how are you guys feeding that creativity desire now? Are you guys doing stuff together? Are you doing stuff separately? I know that, we do a lot of things remote right now, but how are you feeding that right now?
It's not really an objective for me. I go into like work mode pretty much when it comes to EMMURE. Like when we have an album that has to get done, like that's when I'm like, okay, now let's get to it. And then I don't listen to music. I don't like do anything except focus on like vibes and energy. What kind of like shit is going to come from us organically, not try to get myself locked up with like, oh, what did this band do, or what was their album like, and yada yada. So that's how I operate. When we're doing anything with EMMURE, obviously, there's I'm in a band currently with people that are super talented that have a wingspan that goes far and beyond most people. So it makes sense that they be out there just kind of like doing what they do, and they've always kind of been in that headspace anyway. But that doesn't exactly correlate into anything with EMMURE. Just I'm not like a person that oppresses people or says, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Put all your energy into this. Like I'm not that kind of dude. So if it makes them happy to do other stuff, that's great.
Yeah, it probably keeps them motivated to keep writing different stuff too, and you get those different influences in that maybe you wouldn't have if they weren't doing different stuff. I think as musicians we all like to do different stuff. So
yeah, I mean, whatever. Again, like I'm not a person to hold anybody back. I think if you're capable of doing something that makes you happy, go for it. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like EMMURE has been around for a minute. Like we've done 8 records at this point. So like an EP by whoever isn't gonna like take away from the legacy I've already built up. I'm not like concerned in that sense.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, so speaking about like obviously, like you said, EMMURE's been around for a long time. Since 2003. I know that's when you guys initially formed, and so I guess the other thing that I wanted to kind of ask about was that I kind of did a little bit of like I know that obviously all the music sites and whatnot, they are what they are. What I'm very curious about from your perspective is when did you start to notice like you started getting like some like hate from these outlets, like because I went back and like there's like I mean there's always I feel like there's always a negative twist on everything, and when do you think that started and why?
Well, it's for me to like sit here and analyze it for you. I would say that I've been in this quote unquote spotlight for a long time. Like there's been a microscope on top of me ever since the band kind of started getting attention. And when you're young, when you're like 19 to 20, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like you're still kind of you're not a fully realized person yet. So in that space of again having a microscope on me, I produced a lot of low hanging fruit. I said a lot of shit. I did a lot of shit that a lot of other people my age would have said or done, but because again there's this light on me, it's like, hey guys, look at what this guy's saying and doing, so it kind of just it magnifies everything, and it creates like like you're saying, this media attention or this media buzz or whatever. But there's always been like this kind of weird against the grain thing my whole life. I've always been kind of fighting against like people hating on me or like not liking whatever I'm doing or whatever. So it's not like it ever kind of, obviously it never deterred me. I just like, again, for me to like sit here and analyze it for you, it's like, I just created a lot of low hanging fruit, and I admit to it too. Like, I said and did a lot of shit that like, if anyone can say they like who they were 5 years ago is a liar. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even like who I was yesterday. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm always trying to improve upon myself. So I don't really worry about any of that past shit or like any of that media crap. It means nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if anything, honestly, there is a silver lining to it that like it just built up this kind of like, I don't know, experience persona that like people just whether it makes me a target or not, it's like people know who the fuck I am, they know who the band is, and that's never a bad thing in my opinion. There is like this fine line of, you don't want to be like a victim to your own like Schadenfreude, where like you start to just become like your own enemy in a sense. You know, people just figure out like, yeah, like we can just write you off like very easily. So I guess the only way for me to counteract that is to make music that's kind of like exciting. You know, that's what my main focus is. I don't worry about trying to change public opinion or whatever the fuck. No one's ever gonna know who I am other than people who are closest to me. So.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, I mean, I don't blame you for that at all. I guess my thing was that before I really started getting into, EMMURE and your music, whenever I see a mass amount of people, what I like to call like arbitrary hatred or, showing like arbitrary hate, I get very interested in like that person. Because whenever there's like this group of, like a mass group of people who's like dogging somebody, I'm like, all right, this guy's got to be way like more interesting than what meets the eye. So I just want to get your thought on that. But can talk about that a little bit if you will. I mean, I know you signed with Victory back in 2007 as a young kid. What was that like to go from being a kid to kind of being? I know that obviously we're not in the hip hop space, where we're like TMZ's following us around or whatever. But
yeah.
I just if you could touch on that a little bit. It's interesting to me.
Well, I don't know how to really explain it other than, when I started the band, I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And then I was on the road full time by the time I was like 18, 19. So I was already like jumping in the van, driving coast to coast, like playing shows nonstop. And, we had a fan base, whether it was in our local scene or whatever, people were noticing the music, and this is when MySpace was really blossoming. Right, and that was a huge platform for us. So I just always kind of was like in the mix, you know what I'm saying? I immediately became one of those people in the scene or whatever. Not immediately, not overnight, you know what I mean? Like it's just, that's kind of the attention I started to garner early on. And then a mixture of that and my own demons, pretty much, like kind of like, it causes it's a recipe for an explosive thing when people are paying attention to you and you're so on the fucking fritz mentally where you're just ready to like outburst and do crazy shit and just be like kind of, I don't know, I was fighting against an invisible enemy, you know what I'm saying? Like I just was like so angry at the world at that stage in my life that it didn't really it didn't manifest into a positive way in the public eye. People just saw me as like this like angry psycho, loose cannon person, and perhaps I was to a degree, but it's not the whole story. It's just the pieces people picked up through the internet.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I always found that interesting. I mean, just the whole dynamic of it all. So I guess the one question that I had that's kind of a little bit away from this. I'm not going to ask you how the band formed, because if anybody wants to know that, they can just do a simple Wikipedia search.
Wikipedia, right?
Yeah. But my question is just the actual name itself, EMMURE. Like, where did you even discover that word?
So this story is it's really funny how like you would think there'd be such an awesome story behind it. I'll tell it to you. But so when I started the band with the Line Eddie brothers, they had kind of always relied on me to be like that creative force in the band, like the lyrics, the song names, what's this about, what's the band gonna be called, all that stuff. And so like I realized very quickly that all my favorite ideas that I thought were really good, they were like, those suck.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
And then I realized that all the ideas I thought were bad, they were like, yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I just kind of stopped. I like had one of those defeatist moments where I just pointed at a word. I'm like, what about that? And my guitar player was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's just change the first letter. And he said it. He didn't say it like in like this kind of like mad scientist, like, no, we're gonna make. He just wanted to argue with me about something to a point. Like, yeah, it's almost good. But I know how I can make it better. And it just so happens, like, out of some weird, I don't know, I guess it's coincidence, really, that it ended up being just the French spelling of the same word I pointed out. So, yeah, that's how I got the band name. It was just kind of like an accident, really, of me being like, yo, I'm tired of having this conversation. What do you think about this? And then he was like, yeah, that's pretty good, but let's just change the first letter around. I'm like, all right, we're good now. And then I stopped caring about it after that, you know? I wanted it. I actually tried to change it at some point early on, but we had already been like playing shows and stuff like that. So like, nah, we'll just keep rolling with it. It wasn't my first pick, but I'm also a firm believer that this isn't always the case. But I am a firm believer that sometimes the music can outshine whatever you're called, and I think that's kind of happened with us. Because I mean, truthfully, if you want to really be smart, you name your band something like Parkway Drive, A Day to Remember, something that when you say it to somebody, their brain instantly connects it. They go, "Oh, I know exactly what you said." I can't tell you how many Uber rides I've taken where they're like, "Hey, so what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in a band." Like, "Oh, what's your band called?" And I'll tell them the band name, and 9 times out of 10, 99.9%, they go, "What? Wait, what? Huh? What'd you just say?" Because it's not a common phrase or word or anything you generally hear. So it has no roll of the tongue magic to it. So in that sense, like, it's not a great band name, but it did help us stand out against kind of like the backdrop of what everyone else is doing. Because during the time when the band started, it was very popular to have a band name that was like, "It dies on tomorrow's grave," or like, "For those who kill," and that was like the thing to do, Man. So all those band names they'd all be on a flyer stacked on top of each other. Then you see our name and it'd be like, "Oh, that's weird. Like that band's a little, eccentric." So
I'm just thinking about the high school bands I had: Through the Ashes, Into the Flames, like insane. So Frankie, I got a question, right? So 8, 9 albums in, how do you define success for yourself now? Because I feel like that's a hard thing to do. There's numbers and dollars and whatever, but I mean, you're coming up with you're coming up with pieces of yourself and the other musicians that put this stuff together. I mean, what makes you feel successful at the end of the day doing this type of career?
Well, I'm kind of very detached from the whole idea of success. Honestly, I feel like when you start to think and measure yourself like that, you always end up in this kind of failure mentality where nothing's ever good enough. So for me, what's really great, honestly, what makes me happy is that I have a lot of people that support me internally and externally that really want me to continue to do this. And that to me is the most rewarding thing, honestly, the fact that like, if I want to go do a European tour, all I got to do is send an email out like, "Hey, so I want to do a new album and do a new tour." And I got 10 people that are on the ball grinding it out, make sure I can go do that, which to me is pretty successful position to be in, but I don't look at it as like, I've sold this many records, I have this many streams, I made this much money, so it equates to this. Like, doesn't mean much to me. There's been a lot of artists that come and go that have had even greater success monetarily and more exposure than I'll ever have. But for me, the fact that I can continue to do it and get on stage and rock crowds is like, I don't know, that to me is the biggest win. The fact that I'm still doing it after all this time. And again, like I just said, I have people behind me that if I want to do something, they're like, "Yeah, we're doing it." There's no like, Frank, I don't know. It's like they just believe in me. So that's a great spot to be in, I think, for anyone who's creative.
It's like that.
I was going to ask, do you still get the same feeling, walking out on stage as you did when you were a local?
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing though. It's the excitement is different. The excitement for me now is like, I know this is going to be fun, and at first it was like I had to prove to other people that this was fun. Right. Like no, this is like, and now it's more just like, I know this is fun. I'm gonna enjoy myself, and yeah, there's less of like that kind of edge to prove myself, I guess. Which it doesn't mean like the hunger isn't there. Like, the hunger has shifted. The hunger is more like, I want this to be dope. Like I know it can and should be, and I'm gonna enjoy myself, rather than like the insanity of like, was that good? Like did we crush it? Like I hope it was good. Like I don't have that kind of anxiety about it anymore. So
no, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about no people showing up like a local show. Like we've been there. I mean, man, we played Rhode Island probably last year, like literally zero.
It was to the other band. Oh,
I mean, dude, I just want to say, like, I don't know how many shows or anything. I'm not going to sit here and ask a ton of questions, but waste of time. But I feel like it's totally okay to do that. Like it's better to do that and play the show and play to the band before you than to have not played the show. And I think a lot of people get very, very disenfranchised early on when they're like, fuck it, like no one's coming. But it's like, dude, like that's how everything starts, man. Like, like Coca-Cola didn't have 100 customers the first day; they had one. That's how it is.
Right? No, for sure. I think the way that we look at it, it's kind of just like it's kind of funny. We're like, we're just having a loud practice. For the people in the room,
Yeah.
But, I played a show in Thailand. I think it was not long ago. It was either Thailand, or Philippines. I don't remember. Probably Thailand. Maybe we played to like 15 kids or something like that. Small ass show. Yeah, and we still did our thing. Like it's really not about the counting heads. It's just like is the energy good in the room? Are you creating the energy you want? It's kind of it's like you got to seize that moment. I'm not gonna say that it would feel great to play to no one. It wouldn't after 20 years of doing this shit. But again, I'm saying recently it must have been 2000. Was it 18? I did it. I think 2018 or what? 19? It was 19. 2009. Last year. That was last year. And we played the show to like 15 kids in Bangkok or wherever the fuck it was. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not. You can't. It's like if you focus on that, you can like I said before. Like if you start to measure shit like that, you'll always end up in the pocket of failure. It'll never be good enough. So you have to look at the things that are really worth paying attention to. Like the fact that I'm in Bangkok playing a show. Like why should I have been given the opportunity?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wouldn't. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So you said that you have a lot of support internally, and I've heard a lot of interviews where you said that your older brother is kind of responsible for kind of getting you into. I think he was with you when you went to your first show, right? With was it One King Down, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. My older brother put me on to like. Well, he was one of the first people that kind of like made it like cool to like music for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure he's the one who gave me like my first like AM FM radio and like put it on like 92.3 K Rock. So like he knew like I was into and stuff. But then as he got older and he would come back from college, he like brought back like all this stuff he had discovered, like all this underground music, and then he put me on. And then when he was away, I was like left. He left his CD book behind, so that was like my treasure chest. Like, I'm gonna listen to all these albums, listen to every single band, and then eventually, he knew I liked one band in particular, One King Down, and so he was like, "You want to go to the show?" And I was like, "Absolutely," and I had no clue what to expect and everything, but he was one of the first people in my life that like, was a gateway to like everything I'm pretty much my whole way of life now. So.
Yeah, I try to do a little bit of research. I'm getting the most out of this journalism degree that I have. I'm trying to research different frontmen from the metal genre. That's what the degrees brought me. But no, man. What I was gonna say though is he still kind of into this kind of style of music, like the underground metal stuff? Does he do you send him link to oh hey man, there's Pig's Ear or Gypsy Disco? Do you send him the link, or is he into this stuff?
No. I mean, I honestly, I have no idea. He's not. Yeah, he's pretty much ostracized himself from my entire family for like. I couldn't even tell you how long now. Maybe like I haven't seen him or been in the same room as him in. I can't even tell you how long. So I don't know. I don't know what his deal is or what his interests are anymore. Last time, from memory, he had totally gotten over all that shit, and he went from like being like an angry like 22-year-old kid to being like, I want to make money. So like he would listen to a lot of like I think Jay-Z was like his #1 artist last time I hung out with him, but I was like 17 years old.
Oh jeez, I didn't know that.
Quite the swap.
Well, no one knows that. It's not
yeah. But I know.
I'm just saying that I have no answer for you on what his interests are.
I got you. All right. Well, so the other thing I was going to ask you too is because I heard you say something in another interview that you did. I can't remember exactly the interviews. There's so many of them, but you had said something like that. You wanted to be in a band. Obviously for many reasons, but one of them you said was that you kind of wanted to have that attention on yourself. What did you mean by that? Just to have, you know, kind of to be like on the stage with people just rocking out to your music, or what do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had no other way to shine. You know, like I was never good at anything. I never excelled in school or in sports or anything that was at all regular. But I realized early on that if I put a microphone in my hands, I could get pretty excited and I could do some, you know, I could like get something out of life by getting on stage, you know, and being a part of music. So that was kind of my drive. I realized like, no, like, fine, like I'm not good at any of this other stuff, but I know I can do this. I had this like, insane, like psychotic belief in myself that I'm like, I know if I can get myself on a stage with a microphone in front of people, eventually it'll make sense. And yeah, that was just the thing I held on to the most, you know. And I pretty much I had that plan at around the age of 12 or 13. I was like, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, I would lie to people. They'd be like, what do you want to do when you're older? And I'd just be like, I don't know, real estate. And I'd just lie. I mean, because I
didn't want the conversation.
I had this belief that you need to protect your dreams because other people are just out there to stab them to death and let you know, like, no, don't do that. Like, do what I did. Like, take this road or whatever, you know. And I knew early on that if I didn't hide my cards, that I would have never gotten to where, you know, I am today, whatever the fuck that is. But
yeah,
you know, just that was it. I figured that out really early on. Like, again, a lightning struck my brain. I was like, I could do that. Like, I could get on stage with a mic and rock a crowd. Like, I just know that that's in me. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a crazy ride, honestly.
Yeah, so paint us a picture. What does a 12 or 13-year-old Frankie Palmeri look like? What bring us back? What is that kid like?
I'm wearing the exact same outfit I'm wearing right now. honestly, I'm listening to the same music. I like pretty much all the same shit I did when I was that age, and now I pay my own rent. That's a big difference. There's not much has changed. My outlook has changed. I've been through a lot since then. I've got to experience a lot of good and bad, but at my core, like, the good parts about me are still very much the same. Like, I still have the same interests and still, you know, I love music and art and games and, you know, that's really, I mean, really, that's kind of like me in a nutshell, I guess. There's not, everything else is kind of like the convoluted, complicated shit, like my fucking personal life and business and this and that. But like, you strip all that away, like, I'm not much different than I was. I'm not even kidding you. Like, camouflage pants and a black shirt and a black hat. Same outfit,
nothing wrong with that.
So, you know, you were obviously, like you said, you were young when you formed the band. What do your parents think of this when you tell them, yeah, you know, I'm getting on a bus to go over to Connecticut to start a band with these guys I met off the internet? They think you're nuts. Like, what's their stance on all this?
I think they had this kind of like thing with me where, like, they tried really hard to get me to fall in line with what it is they envision for me. I think every parent wants their kid to just, no matter what they do in life, they just want them to be healthy, happy, sustainable, be able to stand on their own 2 feet, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think they were aware that I picked a really, like, radically, insanely difficult path for myself.
Yeah.
But they were never like, if you don't stop doing this, then blah, 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 we'll kick you out of the house. There was never like that. You know, they never had that kind of attitude with me, which I'm very grateful for. I know a lot of people aren't that, they don't have that luxury or that privilege, you know, to have parents like that. And I wouldn't say my parents were supportive. They weren't like, we believe in you. They were more just like, they're more just like, all right, count down to when, you know, all this stops day, you know, pretty much that was in their head, I think, but it never did. And, you know, I don't really like, I was never like, I never got a lot of praise from my parents ever in my life, no matter what, whether it be because of when I was a kid or when I got older doing the band. Like, I never like got it from them, so I stopped seeking it at a certain point. And because I stopped seeking their approval is kind of why I was able to just kind of go all in on my own kind of vision for myself, you know? Because I think that's what happens to a lot of people early on, is that they're trapped in this bubble of like, I have to appease these people. You know, I have to make mom and dad proud, yada, yada. And I just realized, I'm like, you know what? Y'all, I'm doing my own thing, and yeah. So here I am.
Yeah, because you're the youngest, right? Out of your family, you're the youngest kid.
Correct. I am the youngest of. I have an older sister, and she's the middle child, and I have an oldest brother.
What about her, man? Is she driving down the highway listening to Pig's Ear? What's going on? Is she
No.
listening to that?
No. My sister's all about really good vibes. You know what I'm saying? She likes positive stuff in her eardrums. I think honestly, when it's so funny talking about my sister's musical taste, because I know what she likes. She's into like rap, R&B, hip hop. She likes a lot of. She also likes she likes to listen to a lot of stuff from her golden age of music as well. But when it's Christmas season and Christmas music is on, she cranks that shit. Like,
oh no,
all out Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas.
Oh.
Not only does it stay on, but she blares it, and we don't get out of the car until the song is finished. That's how much she likes it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's her thing. That's what makes her happy. So I've never been judgmental about musical taste.
No.
Yeah. So like I don't.
My wife does the same thing. So
yeah,
that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, again, I don't. I'm never like perturbed by that. I think that I find it strange. In my whole life, I've found it strange when I tell people like, "Oh, like what do you like? I like this," and they're like, "You like that?" Like kind of like this, this disapproval.
Yeah.
I never understood that. I'm just like, what difference does it make? Like,
or the guilty pleasures.
Yeah,
whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in that either. It's like we're both using our ears the same way we use our mouths to eat food. Like you're eating a fucking salad, I'm eating pasta. Like at the end of the day, we're both taking a shit. Like what does it matter what goes in? You know what I'm saying? Like the outcome is still the same. So.
Right.
Well, Frank, I'll let you know that when I'm driving through a congested city area, I wait for the part where on the track where it says Wolf, and then it goes right into it. I wait for people's heads to turn and just be like, "What in the frig is that?" With the mixes, it is so loud that when that hits, it's just like a sonic boom all around the car. I can just, they're just in their polo shorts and stuff. They're walking down the road, and they're just like, "What am I listening to right now?"
Yeah. So, yeah, I had.
I'm advertising the band.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm flattered. I truly am flattered. I made comments earlier in the year about how like I get it. Like I get why people generally are not like why. Even though aggressive music is still very popular and there is a huge niche market for it, I understand that. But the reason why the mainstream culture like does not care is because it's abrasive. It's like it's attacking you. It's like it's not inviting you to the party. It's like maybe you get that vibe if like you understand like what you're hearing, but most people are just like, why is he yelling at me? Why is this sound so angry? I'm not angry. I don't want to be angry. And so I just think it kind of it isolates people in this thing where like you're saying like you're looking for the guy in the polo shirt.
Oh,
like,
I love
what the fuck is that? But I don't know why. I guess maybe it's good that it has that effect, but in my head, I want the polo shirt guy to look at you and be like, "Dude, yeah, that's my shit." Like that's what I want, really. You know what I mean? But I know that's not reality. I know that's only because truth of the matter is, it's like straight up, like being into heavy metal doesn't get you laid. Can we just all like fucking admit that finally? Like it doesn't. It doesn't. All right.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Like. So it's not very cool. Like the opposite sex just doesn't care. Like they're just like
what, they do not.
They want the song on that makes them feel the sexiest. And heavy metal is generally not that genre. But hey, you know what? It's funny because like there were bands that were trying to kind of like be that for the metal genre. Like Static X was a perfect example. Like their whole thing was like, yeah, we want strippers to this. Like that was like their whole thing. They wanted to be heavy, like they were a heavy aggressive band, but they also knew they wanted it to kind of have that like listenability towards like like the fucking chick with double D's at the strip club, like she's putting on Static X tonight, like, and that's to me that's fucking cool. Like
it's almost like Rob Zombie too, right? I mean,
exactly.
He was kind of that. Yeah. Korn was like that.
Yeah. Just kind of make it like what's the word I'm trying to. I don't want to say like. Easy to digest is a nice way to put it, but accessible. Just it's that's kind of what I like to kind of make our music be. And people always, of course, they kind of have the trope of like, oh, EMMURE's guitars are this and yada yada.
Yeah.
It's
like all one.
Right, yeah. right. Yeah. And my whole thing with music, and I don't know. I mean, I know why most people don't think this way. It's because they're not intelligent enough to realize. But it's like music should be fun to listen to. Like that's it. That's all it should be. It should not be it's not a math problem. You don't gotta sit there and try to figure out what the fuck's happening. If I hear it the first time and I like it, the song is good. I don't care how the song was made. As long as I heard it and I felt something, People ask me a lot, like, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite genre? I'm like, I just like whatever gives me a feeling. I don't care. It could be classical, it could be reggae. I don't care. As long as I hear it and I'm like, oh, this is cool, like, then I like it. I don't give a fuck about the genre.
I say that to Adam all the time. I'm like, I don't really like. I obviously am more partial to the metal genre, of course. That's just kind of been what I've listened to since I was a kid. But like, there's some songs that are outside of it that, like, if I have a feeling towards, like, if it brings out an emotion and a feeling in me, I'm like, man, I like that because that brought that out of me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember like your tweets from a few months ago, when I'm paraphrasing very, very heavily here probably, but you said, I can understand why people with a healthy neuroplasticity, stay away from this because there's an unnecessary onslaught of BS emotions, which I think I got that pretty accurately there.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah. So, which is actually, when you said that, I thought that was very interesting because, like, I just look at my Facebook page, right? And, naturally, you're in a band. So, this person friend requests you, and then it avalanches from there. And now you have like 80 million friends who are all part of this scene or whatever. There's people who are, I feel like, and I don't obviously know everybody's individual situation, but I feel like there's a lot of extra, like, drama or negativity that is there than there should be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I personally don't follow anyone on the internet at all.
Yeah.
Because I believe that it's pretty much 99.9% garbage noise that people put out into the world that's not worth paying attention to.
Right.
It's gotten worse.
So yeah, I'm sure it has. So yeah, I don't know. I do have no idea. I mean, I want to have like some kind of like way to analyze it for you or any kind of opinion on it, but I generally avoid whatever anyone else is ever talking about. Pretty much, like, I don't care. Like, it's generally never going to benefit me at all to know other people's business, so I just don't even bother. The friends I have and people I like in my life, they know who they are, and I can text them if I want to, and that's kind of how I keep it. I really do believe that social media and this consistent knee-jerk reaction people have to like share their life with everyone, I think is really toxic, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not natural. Like I've really been making a point to not look at my phone at all, like just not even notice it. And it's like that to me is when life, I know it's like, this might be super boomer of me to say this shit, but
it's true though.
That's like when life actually made more sense. Like the people you saw were people you saw, you knew who the fuck they were, they cared about you cared about them, you spoke to each other on the phone, and like you went out and like into the world, not like you're saying, like you're connected to 80,000 people who you've never even fucking met before, and all of a sudden you have to like know how they feel about Obama or something. Like, what the fuck? I don't care. Like, it's toxic.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, and Adam and I have said this too, if it wasn't for the band, I'd probably just get off all this stuff totally.
Yeah, I would likely do that as well.
Because I mean, I could be wrong, but as like a local band, a younger band, we're trying to build up as much of a I guess a pipeline or a connection as we can.
Your marketing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so that just comes with the territory. But anyway,
I got something I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah, you go ahead.
So I talked to Jake Lewis quite a bit. I know you did some touring with him, a while back. Killswitch Engage, two of my personal favorite bands. But I was talking to Jake and I asked him a question. I want to see what you think. So you've toured quite a bit. You've been around the world. give me one event or experience you've had where you've just kind of turned your head and something's happened and just you've been like, what just happened?
I mean,
Like in
to be
disbelief,
honest,
you know?
yeah. I don't know, man. There's like funny things that happen where like someone noticeably in the audience is being entertaining. Like to me, I'm like, wow, that guy's funny. Like I remember Warped Tour 3 years ago. One guy wore a T-Rex costume in the mosh pit, and I was
Awesome.
I was like, okay, like the show doesn't matter. Like this guy's hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Like there's very few moments like that. Generally on stage, my headspace is am I performing this to 110% ability? Am I putting on the show that I think that this audience deserves to see? And I hope that they're having as much fun as I am. And that's usually the wheel in my head is like is this like does this feel right? Does this feel right? Does this feel right? I mean, like as long as everything feels right, it's the moment it goes this doesn't feel right, then you're like boom, you have to restructure your whole fucking frame of thinking. You're like, wait a minute, something's wrong. But generally, you're just on stage, you're having fun, and it's not often that like something truly out of this world happens, and I'm like, yo, guys, whatever I was focusing on is gone. This is all that's on my mind right now. But yes, I don't know. It's hard for me to like give like a really legit story or
what
say
even
like
off stage? Like, I mean, you're driving around, you go to a gas station, there's some dude with, no teeth and half his tongue cut off, and you're like, seriously? What is this guy sitting on the curb for? Nothing
I
like
mean,
that?
To be honest, dude, it's after a while you're just numb to it. Like you just like you don't even like it's like yeah, like that is weird, but it's not any weirder than the last time I saw that, or like you know what I mean, or whatever. Like nothing blows my mind anymore in that sense. Like kind of in like the midst of it all, like traveling and being around that many people. I don't know. It sucks. I feel like when it comes to having like fun stories, I really fail. Like I don't have a lot of like remember this one time kind of thing to say to you.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is, though. Like you see and experience a lot of different wild shit. I mean, like I remember when the first time we were in Asia, or like like in mainland Asia and China and stuff like that. There was a venue we were playing, and it was like I got firsthand exposure to like those people that live in like the cage houses. Like the venue was attached to like a housing complex like that. I remember looking for a bathroom and being like, I was looking for a place to take a shit and seeing like a bathroom with a kitchen in it, and then like 5 people living in like a box together. I'm just like, yo, like this is fucking wild. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you just a lot has happened to me in a short amount of time in my life to where it's hard for me to pinpoint like this is I remember this place and this that place. Like it is truly and in some way unfortunately kind of one big blur. But I don't know. It's like something you'd have to say something to me that would trigger a story in my head. Like
yep.
Like just to say something on the fly is really hard for me to say.
So speaking of all the touring and whatnot, like do you remember the last time you actually played in New Hampshire, like the state itself, not Mass, but New Hampshire itself?
Dude, honestly, it has to have been 12 years ago. Like it has to have been like really that long ago. New Hampshire. The last New Hampshire venue I remember is a place that was like kind of like a floor show almost. It was the stage was really low to the ground, and I think there was a band from New Hampshire called And Then There Were None. That was the band I think we played our last show there with. But dude, I could be way wrong. Like it could have been past 2008. But that's what I honestly remember.
So I know that we kind of talked a little bit up front about like how you're personally going through all this, all the coronavirus stuff and whatnot. And I've heard you talk, a lot about when live music will come back. And I also believe that it's going to be like so far away that like there's not even any like it's going to be a really, really long time. So like explain to people who may not really like even guys like us, we're in a local band, but I mean even people who like aren't in a band, like to put it into perspective, like for a guy who is in a band and deals with record labels and all that stuff, like what are some things that people may not think of that are part of the decision to kind of get back on stage in a live setting?
I mean, I'll say this, man. I think that live music will start to gradually come back, but the world that I'm in, where like it's basically 400 to 1,000 people in a small space, in a small space punching each other. That's kind of out the window for right now. I don't know when that's going to return. I think that artists like Post Malone and country artists are going to have the arena shows with like the special section seating where like no one's near each other. And I've also seen they're starting to do like performances where people just drive up in their car and watch a concert in their car. You saw that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do I think EMMURE fits in that space? Personally, no. If we got invited to be a part of that, like, hey, there's a car festival happening, you're one of the bands, I'm going to go. I'm 110% going to go and perform.
Right.
But I don't know, like, what the future is for all these clubs that I've been existing in for, like, the past 17 years. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think truly, and this is not to have, like, a tinfoil hat on or anything, there's going to have to be, like, a worldwide like vaccinated society or some kind of bracelet you wear that shows like I don't have COVID or whatever, that like, or some app on your phone or something like that, where it's like I'm not a spreader or whatever the fuck it is. Until again, my world of like being in rock clubs and people jumping off each other is like a reality again. It's bizarre. It feels surreal to even say to you right now, like, I don't know when the next time a real show will happen. Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, because I try not to be, like negative about this subject, but I see people saying like, oh yeah, well, this show is rescheduled for June or July, and I'm like, guys, like, I hate to be.
They're delusional for sure. I mean, delusions are good because it keeps you happy. But But I don't know like what people are thinking. Like I don't know how anyone predicts this getting better anytime soon. It's like, and we're only seeing it here in America. Like we're still, even though we think we live in the information age, like we're all connected. Like no one has any fucking clue how Europe is dealing with this. How Japan's doing. Like we're not there. You know what I'm saying? And we like to think, it must be just like here, but like they're probably dealing with it their own fucking way. They're their own fucking issues. So like. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just making long-term plans right now is a bad idea. You should just be like prioritizing what's going to work right now for you, and then taking things in strides. Like whatever things start to get better, we'll all get the memo together, and hopefully it's sooner than later. But for live musicians, like bands, like and especially, I'm talking specifically about this genre, the aggressive music genre.
Yeah,
we have a long way to go before we are allowed back into the lexicon or whatever of like live music. Just think about being a promoter. Like, they're gonna book EMMURE Train headliner to do the arena tours with like the pods. Like, no, they're not. Like, why? Like, what I'm saying? Like, and you think people are gonna want to go to a show if they can't like fucking freak out? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, maybe they will. I mean, I don't know. It's just I know that hardcore and metal is so entrenched. Is it entrenched or entrenched?
Entrenched.
Entrenched. Yeah. They're so entrenched in the audience ability to like be a part of it, like whether it's just the energy of it all. So the fact that would be missing on such a large scale is just like, dude, I don't think it's even possible. Like I can't see myself being like 16 years old and going to see some heavy band, not this or whatever, and like not being able to mosh. Like what? Like
sit down in a seat.
Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't add up. It doesn't. It kind of takes away from the whole experience. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is kind of the future of it in general. Maybe people will just be like, all right, I don't touch anybody at the metal show, but I go and I watch the band and I leave, and I don't know. I don't know if even I could deal with that as a performer.
It'd be like, weird.
It takes the energy away, right?
Yeah.
It takes the energy out of the show a little bit. Quite a bit,
because I mean we're a metalcore band or whatever, and so like we have a show that's rescheduled for June at the Worcester Palladium. I know you've played there, quite a bit, but it's the it's the upstairs part, which is 300-400 cap, and I'm like I don't even want to be that guy to be like, guys, I don't know if there's it's just crazy. June 28th, 6 weeks from now, you think that we're all going to be in a 300 cap room? That's insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, As LA Dying just rebooked their tour for June 2021. So they're already over a year out for the next tour. And that could still change. So, I mean,
I noticed that,
It's definitely different.
Yeah, well, man, I mean, I could ask you a bunch of questions, and I'll get you out of here very shortly.
No, you're not, I'm not, dude, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I think that's the cliche. I think that's the cliche thing to say in an interview. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Right?
I think that's the cliche thing to say. But no, I mean, I just, like I said, I just have like I said, I'm a big fan of the band personally. So I have a bunch of questions, and so the other thing I was going to ask you is, kind of what's the transition like going from a label like Victory, which I know that you've said things like. You guys signed the contract essentially. You guys got into what you got into. I know that there's, they definitely did help you. It was 6 albums, I believe, that you were with them. Yeah. And so, what's that like going from a label like a Victory to a Sharp Tone? Is there any real difference, or is it kind of just, same old, same old?
Well, I'll say that I get paid to you like this.
Yeah.
Being a part of Victory was a huge reason why EMMURE became the name we are today, because they are the ones that they paid for the albums. They spent the money on the promo. They had a huge, very well-run machine for their press, for their art team. Everything about Victory Records is well-oiled. They know exactly what the fuck they're doing. Mm-hmm. And when they sign a band, whether it's us or any band after us, before us, the way they do shit is always the same. They take a band, they go, all right, boom, throw it at the wall. Everyone, attention, do this. And, they focus on your album for 4 months. Whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? That's how long they are able to, focus on one thing at a time. Naturally, right? It just so happened that we were one of those bands that when they threw us against the wall and they spent the money on us for the albums and this and that, it worked. We became one of, the, heavy hitters for Victory Records, and we were, honestly, for a long time, one of their only bands that continued to show results, which is why we re-signed for 6 albums. We signed for 4 and then re-signed twice.
For 2, yeah. Oh, 2. Okay.
So, I mean, is it different to be on another label? It's not different, really. It's the same kind of thing where we're in a great nest of people who believe in what we're doing, are paying for the albums to get done. They're busting their ass to make sure that the promo gets done correctly and that the music gets out there, and so it's in that sense it's not different at all. I would say the only difference is just the faces. The process is still very much the same. We're still doing our bit. The label does their bit to monetize, and that's pretty much what it is. It wasn't any kind of shift for us. Well, I'll say this: Sharp Tone, people don't really realize this, is really the American face of Nuclear Blast.
Nuclear Blast, yeah.
So, and we became a band that in Western culture or whatever, music culture, we became, not only say old news, but we had been around. We had been around. And a lot of bands, what they do in our position in most cases is that after they've done the American circuit and done that for a while, and they start to build the European circuit ends up being where you have the longevity. So we wanted to be a part of a team that was able to really capitalize on the EMMURE, on the European, part of EMMURE's career. So that even though we had the Western part unlocked, Victory Records, they have pretty much zero strength in any other territory except America or North America. They have zero presence in Japan, zero presence in Europe, zero presence in Australia. So we never had a really great way of really getting ourselves over there in a big way. So once our time of victory was done, Nuclear Blast was the natural selection, and then obviously we fall under the umbrella of Sharp Tone, because Nuclear Blast, obviously they can't just like house every band, so it was smart for them to create a Western market, because even though Nuclear Blast crushes it in Japan, Australia, Europe, they don't crush it in the American market. So Sharp Tone became the base for Nuclear Blast. So it's all strategic. It's all strategic as to why. But as far as like what the actual energy of it all is, it's very similar. Like, and thankfully too, because Victory Records never once ever the time we were there said, no, you can't do that, or no, we won't do that, or no, we don't support that. They were just like, what's your idea? Cool, we're gonna do it the entire time. So
yeah, it's
gonna
be my next question.
Yeah,
that's cool. So you had good creative control.
Yeah, literally on everything, and they never once were like, you should sound this way or this and that. They just were like, they were just excited like the entire time, and then they wrote fucking fat ass checks to keep re-signing us. So
hey, there you go.
Hey, that's what's paying the rent now, right? Well, in general, that's what you do for a job. That's what I meant.
Right.
So I guess the other thing that I was going to ask about was there was a quote they had a while back, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't remember, but you had said something to the effect of you felt like some of the past members of EMMURE kind of, lost their passion for the band.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that was kind of reflected in the music? Because you look at, some of the past members of EMMURE and like what they're doing now music-wise, and it's obviously a lot different than how EMMURE sounds. Do you feel like, was there a thing where they kind of wanted to go in a different direction, or they just like kind of done with it altogether, or like?
I think, and you'd have to ask them to be sure. But
sure, of course.
From an outside perspective, I just think that they would like to be a part of something that has potential to go farther, has more mainstream appeal.
I gotcha.
I think that's their aim. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I can't say whether or not it's working for them. I'm not in their shoes. I like to hope it is panning out the way they think. But in my opinion, bro, straight up, if they had done another heavy band, I think they'd be further along right now. If they were just like, yeah, we're gonna have our own heavy thing going on, rather than like, no, like fuck that, we're gonna do like the active rock thing or whatever. So.
Well, I will tell you, I'm not going to name any names or any bands or anything, but a certain one of their bands was playing around here somewhat recently, and it said EMMURE.
Yeah.
Like that's how they're marketed. It's.
I mean, yeah. I mean, naturally, what I'm saying,
But I just think it's ironic that you say like that from your perspective that you thought that they kind of were just a little bit more mainstream, but now they're marketed from there on.
That's my point though. Is like
exactly.
To say you were a part of like something that's obviously very known as like an aggressive heavy band, and then do something that is like the complete polar opposite, but also keep the affiliation. It's like, keep the affiliation, that's totally fine. But like, if you're gonna keep the affiliation, come out heavy. Like, come out being like, like, we're just as heavy or whatever.
Genre,
Yeah. But I think that their headspace, and I don't know if I'm correct. This is just me, my 2 cents. I'm just spitballing here. I think that their mission is to like make music that like their mom and dad doesn't listen to. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they want people to like be like, yeah, I'm putting on my son's band. They sound great. Like, I think that's kind of what their thing is.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I could go on for a while, but I'll let you get out of here. I know that you're obviously very busy right now, so no, but
yeah, but no, I gotta go watch the grass grow.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate you doing this, and like I said, I really wanted you to be the first guest because, like I said, just as a personal fan of your band and just being I listen to your podcast all the time. Which, by the way, brother, I'm waiting for this week's episode. I mean, what's going on here?
Monday, I had to take a break. My brain was like not working right for a minute.
No, I got you. No, it's all good. Well, because your format's tough. You gotta wait. You gotta hope that people send in something.
And then honestly, sometimes people do, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta answer this shit. Like, oh god, what did I do?
Do you screen them beforehand, or do you just kind of go into it and go through?
I just roll with it, baby. And then I roll with it, and I'll be honest with you, if I hit a snag, I just stop it and I just do it all over again.
Because I'm sure you probably get some questions where you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this.
Yeah, sometimes I'll get something and I'm just like, I'll start answering and I'm just like, I don't need to answer this. This is like, this is not something that needs to be talked about. So it all depends on what comes through. But
yeah,
nice.
Well, I know that from all your other past interviews, you don't let anybody do the plugs, and I won't do them, but I'll put them down in the descriptions of the videos and stuff like that, because obviously, as you say, if people find this video, they know where to find you, and I respect that. That's true.
My only plug is I hope that whoever finds this thing continues to listen to you guys, and I hope that it's all fruitful, man. Straight up, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man. And guys, he's gonna be putting out a book in a few years, so look out for that as well. All right, that was Frankie Palmeri from EMMURE, and again, man, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Good luck.
Right,
Stay safe,
brother.
brother.
Later, guys.
Take it easy.